But let's move into here a team that probably won't be like that, and in my opinion, might be maybe the worst team in this conference. I don't know. We'll settle our conference predictions at the end of the episode. But Jefferson Morgan, what do you make of the Rockets heading into the season? Like, where is your stock in this team entering the year?
Not much. But the biggest thing, I mean, I will say they do got some good storylines heading into camp. QB battle, but new coach Georgie left for Waynesburg. But I mean, looking at it, I think Cole Jones has to be your quarterback because you're going to need Colt Fowler at wide receiver. And that's basically it. Like, I think that's what you have to do. Now, I'm not the head coach of Jefferson, never plan on being, but I do. I think that's what they have to do. I mean, Cole Jones was the starter to start last year, broke his collarbone. Colt Fowler came in and was the guy. You're talking about a Jefferson team that upset Bentworth, which I didn't particularly see that coming, and it was a shootout, 40-34. But I think you have to because you lost Owen Maddich, who was one of the more under-the-radar receivers in the WPIL, in all honesty. And, yeah, I just think Jefferson's not going to be good this year, but that's the one thing to look at is what they're going to do with Cole Jones and Colt Fowler.
Yeah, that is definitely maybe one of the most intriguing storylines heading into the year is because we've seen this dance for the past 3 years between these two guys about, who's starting, who's a wide receiver, and it's a different guy each week. If this guy gets injured, this guy steps up, and I think Cole Jones ends up winning the job just because of where the team is at right now. What was that? I mean, probably, but like where the team is at right now, it would be.
Oh, I 100%.
Smart.
I 100% agree. I just, if you put the team they had last year, no, I don't know because like then you have Colt Fowler and Owen Maddich, who are very tall receivers on the edge, and then you have Cole Jones throwing the ball. I've never seen Cole Jones play, but what I've seen from Colt Fowler, he impressed me enough to where you think he could be in contention. But with the the position the Rockets are in this year, their best case scenario, in my opinion, is have Cole Jones start and Colt Fowler at wide receiver.
Yeah, and then you look across the board at the other weapons. I mean, I've heard some not nice things about Jefferson Morgan as far as numbers go, as far as, participation. So I think, Colin Basaglia, if he ends up playing for the Rockets, is an interesting name. One of the younger guys with some talent that might be interesting. But you look in the trenches, I mean, they got a lot of guys back, even so. Wyatt Wilson, Andrew Vessels have started for multiple years. So that gives you confidence, I guess. But you look at the scores from last year, I mean, they were giving up, a lot of points to some, like 40 to Bentworth. That's not a great thing for a defense to, lay its hat on. So he ended up losing by a touchdown to Mapletown, which I guess is all right when you look at, how good Mapletown's offense was last year. But I mean, it doesn't inspire confidence right now where the Jefferson Morgan program is at.
No, and just another game, you didn't mention, they only beat Monessen by 8 last year. Now, that was early in the season, so we know how Monessen usually works. They're very good to start the season as their numbers dwindle depending on their win-loss record. We know how bad they get. But, yeah, like you mentioned, they gave up 34 points, almost 40 to Bentworth, 65 to California, and 54 to West Green, and not to mention 41 against Jefferson opening night. So, yeah, I just don't think Jefferson has what it takes this year. Last year, I thought they might have a chance to sneak in the playoffs. This year, I would say little to no chance.
Yeah, and looking at their schedule, it definitely doesn't get easier. I mean, opening up with Leechburg, I mean, that could maybe be, like, what have you seen from, I don't know a whole lot about Leechburg, but I don't think they're necessarily a great team. Maybe Jefferson could, compete in that one, but, like, Wash High at home, no thanks. Cornell on the road, probably not. Avella is probably a loss. At Monessen is pretty difficult. I mean, that's a pretty difficult place to play for any team. At Bentworth, probably a loss. Like, where do you see as the most likely if they end up getting a win? where it would be.
Oh, it would be September 24th at Monessen for me. And that all depends on how the Greyhounds start their season off, if their numbers are starting to cut down a little by then. Leechburg, they're a wishy-washy team. They had their best season in years last year. They're still trying to break. They have the longest playoff drought in the WPIL, I believe, since 1987. But they had their best team since then last year, so I don't know how many starters they return. I'm not up to date on Leechburg Blue Devil football. Wash High, you might as well chuck that up as a loss. And at Cornell, not an easy place to play. Long bus ride there. They got a Vel at home. We know how big upsets were in this conference last year. Could that be one? Probably not. So, yeah, it would have to be at Monessen. That's just a brutal stretch, too, because they have tough road games. Games that I think they could be in, but they're on the road. You look at Monessen in Week 5 and at Bentworth in Week 6, and then your gift, if you win those two games, California, at Mapletown, at West Green, Carmichael's to end the season. It's going to be a rough road for the Rockets, let's put it that way. If they lift off, it's not going to be too much.